follow up, and why should estate agents look at it?
I think one thing to think about with this, Pete, is firstly is the expectation, right, and understanding where these leads are coming in. Right now, Google ad or a lead from a Google ad, I've got to remember that that person has actually they've made a decision already. They've decided to go online to find you. They just don't know who you are or where you are. So that's where the ad is put on front of them. But they've not walked into your door. If they've walked through your door, they've made about 5 conscious decisions, and they're super hot, and speaking to them in a way like, oh, hello, Mr. Jones, thanks for coming into my office. Are you thinking about selling your property? Is going to get a great reaction. But when someone uses an instant valuation tool through a paid ad, most of the time they're not quite at that point, right? So I always use an analogy of it of like, think about you going shopping for a washing machine, and you go into Curry's, and you had a really excited or overexcited person come bounding over to you and say, "Oh, can I help you?" What do we all do? Right, we all push back. Right, it's a natural reaction to a salesperson is to push away, and then we go and look at 20 washing machines. I've got a clue what we're looking at. Could really do with his help, but now it's all a bit embarrassing, right? So, but if that guy had come in and said, "Oh, hi, good afternoon. I just want to ask you a quick question. How can I help you? What prompted you to come into Curry's today?" Right, it's a much softer approach, and it will get a more honest answer. And we always say that people should do that as well. They should have that kind of approach to that lead, which is all about asking, what prompted them to get that inquiry in the first place. Now, you're not going to get through to everybody straight away, right? So this is only for the dealing with the people that you can speak to. So speed to lead, we always talk about getting through to that person as quickly as possible is really important. But there's going to be people that it doesn't matter what you say to them, they're going to say that they're not ready, right? It doesn't mean to say that they're not interested. It just means that they're not ready today. They're not interested today. But one of the stats that we have, which is really interesting, and this has been concurrent for many years, is that 18% of everyone that uses an online valuation tool sell their property within an 18-month period, right? Their property comes onto the market, is updated on the land registry. We have the 2 endpoints, obviously. We have where the property was or where a request has been done on this property, and then we can look up on the property, to find out from the land registry whether that property has actually been updated. And if it has, we know that there has been a sale. We don't know who sold it, interestingly. And it might be that the person that got the first opportunity didn't nurture their client, and consequently, they left it to about here. And then that client then came back, walked into 3 different offices, chose their 3 estate agents, had their 3 valuations, and chose the agent to list. But the guy at the front end had the first opportunity. Now, if he chose to throw that lead away because the client didn't give him a yes, I'm thinking about selling my property, and just gave him any other answer to that, and he might be, I'm not ready yet, or I'm not interested, go away, whatever it is, they missed out on that opportunity. Now, what we know this data, we know this timeline. So one of the things that we knew 3 years ago that was really important is to do something about it.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean, there's plenty of things that you can get out there, from MailChimp all the way up with. You've got lots of ways of getting content out to people, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's better than doing nothing. But just by providing content and newsletters, if you think that that's going to be good enough, it's not, because emails, people realistically, if you think about your own behavioral patterns, when you're shown an interest in a product before, and you're now on a newsletter or a mailing list, you get these emails come in, and you'll scroll through them. Now, you're never going to reply to that email. right? We know stats show that you don't reply to emails. The only time you reply really to an email is when you are deep in the transaction, right? When you've already got the trust of the person that is emailing you, that's when you will reply back to an email.
Yeah.
Different with SMS messages, by the way. SMS messaging, you will reply back to more often than not. But what we do within emails is we click, right? We click for information. We use emails now to gather further information. So from your perspective, from an agent's perspective, what we need to do is provide that additional added value, not sell, right? Not be salesy on those emails, because as soon as you go salesy, you're back into curries, right? And you're getting the two palms, right? So we've got to provide additional information, added value for the client to go, well, that's interesting, click. Now, two things here. Firstly, they're only going to click when they show interest. Okay. So when they show interest, when they, they're not going to, it's unlikely that they're just going to click on it because they were bored. They're clicking on it because they have an interest in that subject matter. So when's the best time to phone that client? When they click, right? Because that's the moment, that's the absolute moment where they're in that zone, they're ready. So what we wanted to do is build something that provided the agent with that data, with that information in real time. So when they click on that, download this guide, this brochure, whatever it might be, they click on that, the consumer gets it, that nugget of information, that, that additional information that we want to, the added value. But at the same time, simultaneously, the client, the agent is pinged a notification to say, Pete has just clicked on this brochure, downloaded this brochure, subtext, drop everything, phone him, because he's now showing
dial,
interest,
man.
right?
Dial for dollars on that one. I mean,
exactly.
Or pounds or whatever.
So, that's what the product does, and it's all about making sure you're speaking to the agent, to the client, when they are ready. Now, if you get that notification and don't act upon it for 2 hours, your first challenge is to get them back into where they were thinking 2 hours ago, because you've got a window of opportunity. We're all very busy people, right? You've got a window of opportunity. The kids are asleep, and now's the time when you go, you're checking through your emails. You clicked on that. You're looking at the brochure. In 2 hours' time, the kids might be screaming. You might be back at work. Whatever it is, you're doing something else. So if you wanna, that's why we always bang on about this speed to lead. It's because without it, for every minute that you wait, you are providing yourself with another obstacle, and that obstacle is to get them back into where they were a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour ago, whenever that lead or notification came into you. So that's so important, but it's difficult to achieve.
If it was easy, none of us would have a job. If people were queuing up outside the agent's house with the keys ready, you've explained it really well. It's more a case of like, just look at it long term as opposed to short term. I mean, we speak to agents that just go, "Oh, I'll try Google ads or YouTube ads, for a month or two." I mean, you probably get it for your products. We got to look a little bit longer term than sort of just do it that way. And just by saying 18 months, from like interest to really, like, obviously, land registries when the title deeds get transferred and all the rest of it. But obviously, then you reverse engineer that. Deal's probably been going on for, how long does it take? 6 months now to move out, 150, 60 days, conveyancing, change, all that sort of stuff. So it's interesting that, and that's why I want to really educate now before we even take a client on, that we've got to have this nailed down, the follow-up sequence and the nurturing sequence, and the lead to speed's great, but then what if they aren't quite ready yet? What's the sequence? What's the dynamic journey, so to speak? And it's all gobbledygook in an agent's world. They just want the baby, not the labor pains. Well,
Yeah.
From a business owner's point,
nicely put.
You've got to be a bit.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true, and it is a case of, you know, that this way of marketing is relatively new in the industry, right? We've always been used to having hotter leads coming into us because we're waiting for them to come to us, right? We might put some you know, some printed ads out or whatever, but ultimately we're waiting for the consumer to come to us, and therefore they're much more highly qualified. Now what we're doing is we're casting a net and bringing them into us and expecting the same results immediately, and it's not going to happen. But what we've got to do is we've got to be smart. We've got to listen to what we're saying and say and get that mindset in place of, how do I frame the initial question? How should I be talking to this client so I'm not going to push them away?
Yeah.
And then what am I going to do next? So if they say this, right, that's showing that they've got a higher propensity. Therefore, I can push them a bit. But if they say, no, I'm not ready, I'm 6 months away. Yeah. We need a process for that. We need a process for that. Otherwise, you're going to be one of the guys that when they get to here and when they're ready, you're going to miss out, even though you had the opportunity at first.
One, you'd be kicking yourself, and two, if you give up halfway up a mountain, you're going to be like kicking yourself later on after you've recovered after your bruises and all your aches and that sort of thing. But you're going to be going back.
Yeah.
It's a waste of investment then as well. I'm just trying to get agents to go, listen, I mean, we're signing clients all the time, but a lot of them don't understand that, Google Ads isn't the silver bullet. What's going to be the silver bullet is between the agent and the what we call the post-click or the after-click relationship.
It's all about the process. Nurture. Yeah. Now, look, some agents are absolutely fine and have this nailed themselves, right? So, but you have to be honest with yourself, and expecting a busy office, expecting the neg to be able to say, right, we're taking an influx of new leads. If you're paying for Google Ads, that's great. That means that you're proactive in getting new lead gen coming in, right? You've got new leads coming in. If your negs are on it and framing that question correctly, and then you've got a system or a process in place that is nurturing those clients manually, then fantastic. But the vast majority of agents that I speak to, and I'm sure you're the same, when they really, if they might say that they've got it in place and they say that their negs are doing it, but realistically, when you actually listen to the phone calls, because those negs are very busy, they want immediate, they want the lead now. They want the immediate valuation to be done, and as soon as they go, no, not ready, whatever, it's kind of, I haven't got time to talk to you now because you're 6 months away. And therefore it just goes, and they get on with the next thing. Now, that's fine from their perspective, from the business owner's perspective. That chuck away
suicide.
It's a missed opportunity, because you might as well just be throwing it next door to somebody else.
Essentially you are, because like you said, someone's going to sell it. Someone's going to help them. Someone's going to provide that knowledge and trust and build that. I love the phrase pre-selling. So having people almost sold on you before they've even spoken to you. We have people watching our YouTube videos and they're like, oh, I've been watching you, I've been stalking you, for ages. And they're like, they're invisible to me, because obviously we haven't got a lead generation for them. They're just watching our content. And it's just that, the follow-up, they've been watching my stuff for years, and you'll have the same, and the agent will have the same. But if you can get their name and email address at the same time, which is what Valpal are fantastic at, and not just that as well, but the support that you guys provide is, second to none. We work with quite a few clients, companies, but nowhere near in terms of the support and the sort of speed to report. It's speed to support is your motto. It must be, all the values and all the mission and stuff. But it's so important that we don't just look at it as a one-click, spend the money, invest in Google, because it isn't as cheap as it used to be. All these costs are going only one way, unfortunately. Not just petrol prices. I'm going to put my car on sale later on, because I'm not paying £2. I'm not paying £2 a litre. I actually recently looked at an electric car. I'm going off on YouTube now, but all of a sudden I'm starting to see BMW targeting me with the iCars and all that sort of stuff. But it's interesting how YouTube can help you sort of pre-sell as well. I mean, I'm in that journey myself, but it's so important, guys. And I think that if you're watching this and you haven't got that follow-up sequence for any marketing, whether it's Facebook ads or, you know, Twitter ads or whatever it may be in the future, even leafleting, you know, you've got to have that, you know. So yeah. So
one final point on this, Pete, as well, is that again, this is getting the agent to look at their own structure, because you might find that if you're running a really busy office with limited resource, that let's put it a different way. We found the best results from agents running Movepal is where a small number of people take ownership of it. So it doesn't have to necessarily, I mean, it's an obvious thing when you're a 4 or 5 branch agency and above, right, to have like a call center or such. But even a smaller operation, a busy 1-2 branch agency, having 1 or 2 people that are dedicated to this role, and that's what they do, right? A, it means that they're in the office most of the time, and B, it means that they can be trained to, like, within an inch of their life on it, and know and can get also remunerated on booking in a market appraisal, right? So rather, you know, so it's within their interests to do it, and that's I mean, it works either way, but it works better if we have, you know, 1-2 people that are trained to make those calls, because we can do the training with them as well. And
that's really good.
That you know,
that's a brilliant point, actually. Yeah, because I mean, I was a neg and I got to value a stage. I didn't want to herd sheep, so I didn't become a branch manager. But you know what it's like on the day-to-day business. It's running around. If you've got that 1 or maybe 2 people, depending on the size of the branches, of course, in the company, and obviously lettings and sales and landlords and vendors and new build and all that sort of stuff. But if you've got 1 person like who owns it, and then you know, that is such a beautiful.
You've also got, it overcomes a couple of other challenges as well, because let's say you had 3 branches. If you had 3 branches, you can guarantee, like with anything new, don't matter how good it is, you'll get buy-in from 2 and resistance from 1.
Always.
Right? Always, right? And if you've got 1 branch, you'll get buy-in from 80% of the of your team there, and resistance from 1. So, and that 1 can sometimes become a bit of a cancer, and that can spread. Whereas if you have, but I'll tell you one thing, that the negs, if they will love the 1 person that's booking them in MAs and valuations, right? So that is one of the reasons why it works really well with that one, is because you know that it's being focused on 100% of the time. So
yeah, it's good days, because we're working with a client in the Bedfordshire area, Bucks Way, and they're using Movepal. They've got Movepal. I believe they've got Movepal. But like they literally have 1 person who looks after all their Movepal leads, and from social as well as, and they get a slightly higher percentage in Google versus, because obviously the great thing about Google is that we do a report of the leads to go, right, that person actually Googled how much is my house worth, or what's my house worth, value my house, that sort of thing. So they're a little bit warmer than somebody who's got interest. But by and by, this is obviously post click, so this is when they get the lead. But there's so many, you know, if you haven't, you know, spoken to, you know, this company is fantastic. I mean, you know, not just the sales side is brilliant, but the support on it. I mean, literally, I had an email, I think yesterday, client moaning, 5 minutes later we sorted it. You know, John at the office, top, you know, Julia and, you know, all the team there are fantastic on support. It's really, really, like, that's massively key.
It's always good to hear.
Mate,
more than anything else,
I'm not just blowing
smoke.
I'm not blowing smoke, but maybe you'll be able to do some smoke. But literally, you know, we got a couple, and like the others don't have a patch on you. You know, one of the companies don't have. I'm still waiting for a response off somebody from 2 weeks ago, and we'll talk about off air. But you know, so we can put our boots on and sort of dig. But no, everyone's a great company, but it's the after support, and again, it has a reflection on the client as well. I mean, I had a client email me this morning, up north. That's anything more than you're south of Watford, aren't you?
We are very much so. Yeah.
It's sunny up here for a change, mate. I tell you. Anyway, but they emailed me and talk about the I think they joined Movepal a couple of months ago, and he emailed me this morning saying it was like 10 to 7 or something ridiculous in the morning. Like, but I'm an early starter, and he was as well. We was emailing each other, and he said, "Sorry, mate, I was delayed. Someone just come in from Movepal and booked an evaluation, like from somebody who was a lead 2 months ago."
Love that, didn't you? That's absolutely love that. That's
and beautiful. I was like, mate, I take priority. Oh, book it in, mate. Book it in. So book it in, and then we carry the conversation. But you know, and that was all the follow up.
Yeah,
it obviously had all the sequences and stuff like that. So, you know, fantastic, mate. Well, listen, I'm privileged to have spent the time with you. If there's anything,
thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd sort of want to? Like, have we missed anything? What have we missed?
No, I think I think one of the things to remember is the content is key to this, and keeping the content is fresh is key. And one of the things that a lot of people worry about is, do I have to keep this going? Do I have to create this content? And the short answer to that is it's up to you. We create the content, and we don't just do it off our own backs. We've got, when we're writing content, it's not me necessarily that's writing it. I have an input in it, but we've got an editorial team from State Agents Day and Letting Agents Day that help us to write that content. We've also had, help from other industry gurus on content writing, just to make, because everyone wants this to work for the agents, right? Absolutely. Everyone wants it to work. So what we want to do is provide an out-of-the-box package that says, right, plug it in, sales, lettings, journey's done. You don't have to worry about it. But for Mr. Agent that actually does and wants to tinker and tweak and change and do, it's fine. And you've got that option as well. You can edit it if you want to. Vast majority of people don't, but if you want to, you can. And the other thing you can do, of course, is you can use it as a mailing platform. So sending out your newsletters, sending out your regular emails that you want to do to part or segments of your database or all of your database, you can do that. And the other thing that you can do is use it because you can apply tags to segments. So anyone that's in a certain area, like a real target area, there's a place around here called West Dean. Right now, the properties in West Dean are all like, over 2-3 million quid. So if you're selling a property there, you put a tag on it. So that if you then sell that property, you can create a quick email and go, I've sold this property in your road or in your area, and you can send it to everybody that's in that you've applied that tag to. And you can send that out. We create all the templates, 2 minutes to do and fire it out, job done. And then you can then see who's opening it, who's clicking on it, and then you're on the phone and talking to those people. It's it's great.
That's why I suppose that's why most people are using it, because it's a fantastic tool. There's it's an industry, so there are other providers as well as ourselves and other things like that. But it's so critical, guys and girls. If you're not, if you're frustrated with any of your marketing, don't blame. What I'm finding is that people are blaming the messenger. People are stopping Google ads. People are stopping Facebook. And there's so many people that go, oh, these leads are, they're not where we want to be. They're, I was speaking to a good agent. Matt, I said, mate, it's not. Look at your bloody email. Look at your follow up. You got 4 phone calls and that's it. Where's the rest of it? So,
again, it's trying to get. You've got to remember how that lead has popped into your inbox because someone could be bothered to click on a link. And then they could be bothered to put in their postcode, select their property from a drop down, put the number of bedrooms in, press submit, put their name, their email, their telephone number, effort. Press submit. And it's a lot of fun work, they're qualifying themselves 4 or 5 times before they get that inbox. So I totally agree with you on this, that it's not, as long as you're in the right area, you've got the right contact details. And obviously there's sometimes when they put rubbish in email addresses and the wrong telephone number, but assume that you've got the right number, the right telephone, and the right email address, you've got a genuine lead. Frame your question right, get your nurturing in place.
Yeah,
and it's not, then
start it, and obviously it's dynamic, so you just tweak as you go. It's a journey. This is the, so many people blame, like I say, blame the message, repeating myself, but blame the messenger instead of like looking at the, the fact that how young you are, how old you are, it doesn't matter, ages, but because I've got a few clients that are like sort of coming up to retirement, they're like, oh no, I can't be bothered. What's the legacy? What's going to happen when you retire? You know what I mean? So there's all sorts of internal office dynamics, and human beings, as being human beings, they will always look for an escape. And obviously there's part of our brains that always looks at these, like you say, they're putting the wall up from a sales point of view. It's like, I don't want to say, but people like to buy. People have gone to Google, typed in whatever it is, they're looking, they've actually qualified them a little bit more than just like scrolling social media. They've actually gone to Google and gone like, should we get our house value? Or, let's, before we phone up an agent and get sold to for 4.5 hours and get the stripy suit and all the razzy dash stuff, let's just do a Google search just to find out what Google can tell us. They come to yourselves, go through the sequence. All of a sudden, they've got a third and fourth bite of the cherry, 18 bites of the cherry. Get your mouth around that bad boy. You know what I mean? That's an 18-month cherry that you've got to bite on. You've got to have that.
And of course, the longer you've got this system in place, so you go through the first 6 months, which might be a bit of a learning curve for the agent to understand what's going on. They're going to get some wins out of that, but it's going to take a time for the clients going into that nurturing to start to come to fruition. But from 6 months to 12 months, you've already got those clients that are finishing, plus you're replenishing it. So as you go on, the longer you've got it, the better it becomes, because you've got more coming to fruition from it. So
it's like a glass of wine, isn't it? Or a bottle of wine. Yeah. It's just like gets better as it gets older.
As you get rid of the bottom.
That's another story. But anyway, I'll wrap up now, Craig, unless you've got something urgent to say.